And now last thing in the GUI, I want to create a button called convert, right? So I'm going to say button convert, okay? This is just a shorthand for button. It's just easier to say like this. Convert is equal to tk dot button, okay? So I'm creating a button, and I also have to give it a master, right? So where am I going to put it? Now, I said before that the button itself, it doesn't make sense to make a container just for the button, because I don't want to put more than one widget in that container. It's just the button. So I can just put the button straight into the GUI, into the window, into the main GUI, like the main screen. I'm not combining multiple GUIs for that container. So master is equal to window, and then text. So what do you want that button to say on it? So I'm going to say text equals to convert, and then this is where you actually have to do a command. So what happens when I press the button? Okay, so I don't have to do it right now. I'll do it this, and then let me put it on the screen first, and then I'll show you. So button convert also dot grid, and now if I go back to my paint here, I want my button in row 3, column 1. So row equals to 3, column is equal to 1. All right. So now that I have row 3, column 1, I want 1 second. Let me see. Actually, it's not column 1. It's column 0. I'll tell you why right now. So think of it like this. Here, I actually, so like when I create the container, okay, or I tell it that it has 2 rows inside the container, or 3 rows inside the container. But now in my window, remember how I told you it dynamically knows the rows and columns? Because I didn't set a column in my window, not in my container, in my actual whole window that is bigger than just 0, this actually means that it's just, right now, the whole program thinks that here is just one column. There's no separate columns, right? So it's because in my container I told it, oh, there's 3 columns here. There's 3 columns here also. Or here I told it it's 2 columns. And then here in my button, I didn't tell it that in my like outside GUI, there's more than just one column. So that's why I don't need to like separate into column 1. I can just say column 0, which is this whole part. This whole part is column 0 for the GUI itself. Because we said here master's window, right? It's always with respect to what this master is. So here row frame, it's like the row and column from inside this container. Here inside this window, I only have the 0th column, so that's all I need. So column 0, because I don't have anything else. This is for 0, 1, 2 for here, but here this is just going to be only one column, so I'm going to call it 0. And then I want to also have a padding. Pad x equals to 10, pad y is equal to 10, right? So now if I run this, pad x, pad y equals to 10. See here, now I have my button. I can press it. But now I have my GUI done, but it doesn't do anything yet. If I do anything here, right, like it doesn't do anything. This is where this thing comes in, okay? Now I actually wanted to convert stuff. So how do I convert? How do I do all that like calculations and everything? What I did was this. So this Windows.main loop is like a loop that runs, and what it does is called like an event handler. So if I go back to here, it's like a while loop that's always running, okay? It's like a while loop. And this is always running while you're running the program, while you have the GUI open. And what it does is it reads if you interacted with the GUI. So if I open this, see this GUI. If I press the convert button, that's an interaction. I actually press the convert button. If I wrote a text inside here, 5, for example, that's an interaction. I wrote text inside the text box. So it's called an event in Tkinter. An event is like something you did to the UI. I press this button for a drop down, and I'm here. This is actually an interaction for the drop down. It's called an event. So this event is called a drop down. This event is called a key, I think. This event is called like text. So each one of these, when you interact with it, it's an event. And inside this window.main loop is like a while loop that runs all the time, and it just watches your mouse movements, and if you click on anything to tell you if there's an event that happened, like clicking the button, right? So I want to use that. So I want to tell it that when an event happens where I click this convert button, take whatever is inside this input and convert it from Pascal's to um, like mmHg or mercury, millimeter of mercury. So this is my event, my convert. So how do I do that? It's actually already implemented into the button here, the button function or class. What you do is this. Inside here, you do another comma, and you can add something called a command. Okay, what is this command? This command is basically a function that you set that runs every time someone presses that button. So let us first create the function up top. Go to the very top of your code, and let's make a new function. We're gonna call it define, okay? And we're gonna call it, let's see what we're gonna call it, convert, okay? All right, and just gonna do this. And here, just type for now, right now, just to pass. What pass does is basically, it'll give you, Python will give you an error if you do an empty function. But if you put pass in here, meaning you just like skip this function. Like if this function is called, don't do anything. This is what pass does. So right now, just put pass until we get to coding this function. Another thing we have to do. So this is the math behind the conversion, right? All I have to do is I have my current input, right? Input, which is in the text box that I have. People will write it inside the text box. And I have to multiply it by a multiplier. And I got this off Google, the multiplier for each of these units to convert. So I'll show you, I'll send it here. Okay, I'm gonna create a dictionary. I'm gonna send it to you on the chat because it's kind of hard to write. You can do anything for now. You don't have to put these exact numbers. If you want to just put any numbers and it'll work, but it won't be right, the unit conversion. That's okay, but I'll post it. Let me show everyone in the meeting here. See this? It's kind of hard to copy, but this is a multiplier I got off Google. So say you have like mmHg, right? You have 5 mmHg and you want to convert it to bar, okay? So if I have 5 mmHg, I take that number 5, and multiply it by the multiplier for bar to convert. So what is this multiplier? It's 0.013322. I got this off Google, okay? So if I multiply by this number, my input from using mmHg, I get the output that I want, the converted unit, basically, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's an input times a multiplier. And that's what we're going to actually put in this function, convert. We'll take the input from the text, and we're going to multiply it by the multiplier from here in order to convert. Right? This is what a good dictionary is also good for, to save all these. So I'll show you how we can do that right now. So we have command equals to, and I want to set this in the button. Okay, go down to the button, command equals, and we set this to convert. So we know we made a function called convert up top. We want to tell it every time a button is pressed, go to this function called convert. So I told it now, don't put a bracket, like you don't do this inside here because it doesn't need that. Just do this. Just put the name itself of the function. That's it. Command equals to convert. So now it's going to take that function that we have up top here, and it's going to run it every time someone presses a button. So now let's do the math behind it. So First of all, there's a one event that's important. Pass, 1 second. There's one event that's important, right? I told you guys that whenever you type any text in this box, that's an event, right? So we need to somehow get this, what we have, what the person inputted in this text box. I want to get it. So what I do is this. I say, let me create a new variable. I call it input unit. Okay. Or sorry, let's do it because I use unit a lot. Let's say input number, okay? Equals to. And what I will do is I will get it as a string, okay? So you know how uh, oh, okay, actually, sorry, not let's not do input number right now. Let's do input unit. I'll keep it like that. What this is this. If I run the 1 second pass, just gonna so I can run it. See here, what I'm gonna put in this input unit variable. Yeah, Andrew, it's okay. Put any numbers in there for now. Just make sure it's like 4 numbers, okay, for each one, and just put like 1 1 1 1 here. It won't work correctly, like it won't actually change the units. But after the workshop, we're gonna send this code, and you can copy paste this dictionary after to make it work correctly. But just put any 4 numbers for each one of these, okay? Just for now. So this input unit is basically this drop down. The input drop down. I want it to tell me what value has been picked. Okay, so like CMMHG, Pascals, all that. I want it to tell me what value has been picked. So to do that, I have to get this value from the drop down. So you say input unit is equal to, and I say str because I want to convert it to a string. Okay, and what I say is unit input. Why? Because our dropdown is actually called unit input, like dropdown input. See that? The values inside this dropdown, inside this option menu, is called units input, which I said here, right? This text inside the dropdown is called the units input. So if I say units input dot get, okay, what does dot get do? It basically says get the value that's are now stored inside this units input. So if I change it in my dropdown, it's going to be stored back into this units input, and now I'm just getting it. Letting it get it and make it equal to this input unit variable. So now we have a string that says, say, like Pascals, okay? The string, if you got it and you have your dropdown on Pascals, or you chose Pascals, then here's going to be this basically. This is going to be the input unit, PA, okay? Now let's do output index, or actually multiplier, okay? So actually no, let's not do multiplier. Let me do something better. Output, so make it easier first. Output unit, okay? Equals to this. Now in my output unit, what I want to do is this. I don't want to get what my I mean, I am gonna get what the output, like what the drop down is for the output, like the right drop down menu. I want to know what the output there is, which I'll do right now. So here, unit input, but let's change it to unit output, right? Output unit. But now I also want something called an output uh, index. I'm gonna create an output index. Just do like this, index equals to. And now what I wanted, I'll tell you why I'm doing this, because so you know how I have an array here of all the pressure units, right? What I want to do is this. Um, I know I can get what value I chose from the drop-down menu, but like which is stored here. But now I want to know actually which index is it in this array, because if you think about it, these have the same indexes. The dictionary and the pressure units have like 1, 2, 3, 4 values inside. If I already know um, the uh, the index of this array, right? What I can do is I can just go to here and Wait, 1 second. Give me a second. Input unit, unit multiplier, input unit. Oh, yeah, yes, okay. So this is why I want it. So if I know the index of the output in this array. So if my let me run this here. Okay, here, my output here. If I put it as bar, now I want to know the index of bar. We know that the index of bar in this array is 1, right? And we also know that our input is, for this here, is Pascal's. So what I do is I'd do this. I'd go to here, I'd say in my dictionary, look for Pascal's, which is our input. It's in this key, Pascal's. And then the key for the Pascal's has values, 4 values. And these values each correspond to MMHG bar PA ATM. As you can see that for the PA, it's 1 because it's the same value, like you don't change it. The multiplier. That's why I want to find the index of the output. If I find the output of the index, which is bar, which is 1, I can tell it find PA in the dictionary and then take the multiplier at index 1. So 1e to the negative 5. So this is my multiplier to convert from Pascal's to bar, right? Because this is the second value in the array and the second value in the array here. So here, let's do it now. We say pressure units, which is the array. Oh, a second, sorry. Pressure units, okay. And then dot index. This is a function of the array, okay? So this array has a function called dot index, and it's good if you want to search for a value. Like you have a value and you want to search through the array for that value, and it'll give you what index that value is inside the array. Okay, this is a function. So you do this, all right? And in here, what you do is this: you put in output unit. So what it does is this: it takes this output unit from the drop-down menu, and it searches for it in this array, and it gives this variable what index it is in this array for the output unit. Let me check if there's anything else I do. No, I didn't. Yeah. So see here, pressure units dot index output unit. Now this should give me the index of uh, the output dropdown from here. So bar is index 1. This should give me 1. And now I'm going to do something, which is this. First of all, what I can do from here is this. Let's say answer. So the output is equal to, and I say like float, because I want my final value to be a float, a decimal number. So I'm gonna just cast it a float, okay? And I say, actually, first let's do something to make it easier. Let's say entry is equal to entry input dot get. What this does is this: it's, you know that our entry input is where we actually input our text box, like it's our white text box that we put stuff in, that we write stuff in. That's what entry input is. And if I do dot get on it, I'll basically get what's already written inside the text box. Okay. So if I do that, enter input dot get, and I say float, so cast, let me just do, before doing this, just do entry times, and I have to multiply it by the multiplier, right? And let's actually create a variable for the multiplier. So multiplier. No, I don't want scap. I just want like multiplier is equal to, and it's gonna be this dictionary units multiplier, right? And take it. And like I showed you guys before, first you put the key, right? The key. So what is the key for this unit, for this dictionary? It is the input, our input. Like in our dropdown, what is our input? Pascal's. Our key is PA, right? So what you actually put is this input unit. See how we got it from the dropdown? We made it a string. That's our key. So let's put input unit in there. So it'll go to that part of the dictionary for the input, and then this gives you a list, right? This is a list because PA has a list as a value. What we want a specific value within that list. So I'm gonna open another square bracket for the list itself, right? Like I showed you before, and I'm actually gonna do the output index, or actually, is it? Yeah, input units, yeah, output index. Why? So now it goes to PA, right? That's the first thing it does, this thing, and then it gives you this list, but you're actually taking one value out of the list, which is this value of index 1 for 1e negative 5. So our multiplier is here. Now our answer is equal to entry times multiplier, right? And then instead of this pass now, we can return answer. So see here, now we have return answer. We can actually start running this. And if I come here, I write like 5, and I want to convert from Pascal to MMHG, press convert. Oh, wait 1 second, I have to. You don't actually return, sorry, I made a mistake. It's, you don't return. This is actually, what you do is this. See this output box? You want to fill it. You want to put an answer inside. So what you can do is this. What did we call the output box? We called it result output, right? Take this result output, copy it, the name. And what we're going to do is result output, and then do this, and inside. So what you do is this. You're going to do this, result output, and then here you put text. What you're basically doing is this. You're telling, remember how we didn't give a text for this result output? Here, we didn't give it any text, but we do for some other labels. What we're doing here is like, okay, it was an empty text. I want to now change this text. So I say result output text. It's kind of like a dictionary, the value for text. And then I say equals str. Okay. So I just want to, because this number is an integer, right? This answer, or sorry, not an integer, a float. I want to change it into a string. So I say string answer because it's a text, right? It's a text. So also do this float here in case it doesn't become a float. We always want it as a float, okay? So answer is equal to cast it as a float. Okay, so you do result output text equals to this. Now we can actually run it. And if I put like 5 here, for example, convert. Did I not do it? 1 sec. Did I see? Give me a second. Let me see what's wrong. Command is convert. Yep. Let's see here. Do you give me any errors? Oh yes. Can you give me an error? Can't multiply sequence by non-int of type float. Oh, I know why. Okay. So here. Just give me a second. Let me get it here. Oh, I know why. Okay. This is, I made a mistake which here. In input, you know how you type 5? This 5 is actually a string when you do the dot get. It's not a number. So it's trying to multiply a string by a number, which doesn't make sense, right? So actually in this entry for the text box, you have to cast it to a float. Right? So now if we cast it to a float, it changes that string that we got in the text box to a float so I can use it in my function. And now I'm pretty sure if I run, I won't get any errors. Yes. I can type 5, convert it. It does this. But see how it's such a big number, right? Like it's very, very big. What I can do is I can use a function in my answer called, I can say like here, answer equals to, actually, let me just do it here in one line. Um, I'll do round. This is a rounding function. I don't want to take all the decimal places. I just want to round it to 9 decimal places. So I'm going to do a round. And I'll put this inside the answer and comma. And I want to say 9 decimal places maximum. So it's going to round my number to 9 decimal places. If it makes it easier, put another bracket around here. So now if you look at here, see here, the first argument is what you want to round, comma, and then how many decimal places you want. So I want 9. Now if I do this again, let me close it first. If I go to 5, convert, see now it's only 9 decimal places. Okay, so now there's one thing we have to do at the end, which we haven't done, and it could cause errors in our code. So this text box you can write anything in this text box. I can write a letter. I can say hello, right? If I say hello and I convert this, okay, see how we're casting the entry to a float? When we do that, the problem is that hello can't be a float. So if I convert it, see, I get an error. Could not convert string to float. So how do I fix this? What I do is this. I'll do this. So there's a thing in Python. It's called a try and except block. Okay. What it is this: you try a piece of code. The program tries a piece of code. If an error happens, you tell it what to do. So here, I'm gonna show you right now. I'm gonna put a try before this multiplication, and I'm gonna tab in these. Okay, multiplier, enter. Okay. Basically, I'm gonna try this piece of code, right? And if you write a number, this piece of code will work. If you don't write a number and you write like a letter, you'll get an error here. When you get this error, what this try block does is you have another thing here called except. You put after it. So what it does is this: it tries this piece of code. If an error happens, it goes to this except. If there is no error, it just continues. So I'll tell you here. So try this piece of code, except. So what will you do if we have an except, right? So like if there's an error, like I wrote a letter, for example, what I'm gonna do is instead of outputting the answer, I'm gonna output actually invalid input. To tell the user, like what you inputted is wrong. So now it'll try it. If an error is found, it's just gonna go to accept and it'll output invalid input. And then another thing you have to do, you can do after is else. So you do try. She checks if this is an error. If it is, it's gonna go to accept and do this. If it's not, which is the else actually, the else is like if it's not an error, it's actually good. What you do is we take this, what we did before, indent it, just put it inside the else here. Does that make sense? We try it. If it works, there's no errors. It goes to the else and does the answer. If there is an error, it's gonna do invalid input. And now we can actually test that. Let me rerun it. Okay. If I rerun it, I have it here. Okay. And I want 5 again. Okay. This works, right? But then what if I write like this? See? Invalid input. It doesn't crash my program or anything. It just tells me, oh, it's an invalid input. And if I don't write anything also, invalid input. I write like 4, gives you a number. Don't write anything, convert invalid input. Where does it say you have to check the invalid syntax? So you probably wrote one thing like a wrong in one of these functions. I'll send this code. Look, I'm gonna send this code right after this workshop or soon, like after the workshop. And you can check my code and check yours and see what the differences are. You probably made a mistake in one of these things we did over here. Yeah, so basically this is it. These are now GUI. We can choose bar, we can choose atmosphere, and then we can do like 3 convert. So 3 atmospheres if I'm actually change my share to make it bigger. Yep. So see here, 3 in my input gives me an output of 2.906. I think that's a 6. No, that's a 60. And then I could change it to Pascal, to atmospheres. Could do like 10. 10 pascals is this number in atmospheres. E is times 10 to the. So I could also do atmospheres to pascals. See this? 10 atmospheres is this amount of pascals. So um, this is it. This is the GUI. We did it all. We used arrays. We used dictionaries. We used functions. Everything we did here was a function.